Your body has been carrying the story too. And sometimes your body reacts before your mouth is ready to admit that something is affecting you. Your shoulders tighten, your jaw clenches, your breathing becomes shallow. Your stomach turns when a certain name appears on your phone or is mentioned in a conversation. Your voice gets quieter when you're afraid of disappointing someone. Or your whole body prepares for a problem before the conversation has even started. If you're over 40, you may have been doing this for so long that you don't even notice it anymore. And it doesn't feel like a pattern. It feels like your personality. I'm just tense. I've always been a worrier. I can't relax. And this is just who I am. But what if some of what you call personality is actually a response you have practiced for years? And what if rebuilding your identity after 40 means noticing not only what you think, but how your body has learned to move through life? Before we go any further, I want to be very clear. This isn't about body shame. It's not about appearance. And it isn't about assuming every physical symptom has an emotional cause. Pain, fatigue, headaches, breathing changes, digestive problems, and other symptoms can have many causes. Persistent, severe, or concerning symptoms deserve attention from a qualified healthcare professional. This conversation is about awareness, not diagnosis. Because your body can give you information. It doesn't always give you a final answer, but it can help you notice what needs your attention. So instead of immediately pushing through, ask, what might my body be trying to tell me? Notice the question isn't what's wrong with me. That question begins with judgment. What might my body be telling me begins with curiosity. Maybe the answer is, I'm tired. I need food. I need quiet. I'm carrying too much. That yes wasn't honest. I'm rushing again. I don't feel respected in this conversation. Or I'm nervous because I'm doing something brave. That last one matters. Discomfort doesn't always mean danger. Nervousness doesn't always mean stop. You might feel uncomfortable because an old pattern has been activated. You may feel uncomfortable because you're setting a healthy boundary for the first time. You may also feel uncomfortable because something in the present really isn't right. The goal isn't to obey every sensation without question. It isn't to ignore every sensation so you can keep being productive. The goal is to notice, become curious, look at what's happening, what's true. The goal is to notice, become curious, look at what's happening, ask what's true, and then choose your next step using wisdom, faith, values, and appropriate support. For many people over 40, the body learned its patterns during years of responsibility. You may have spent decades braced for criticism, braced for conflict, braced for someone's mood, braced for another bill, for being misunderstood, for having to prove yourself, or for doing everything alone. And when you've lived that way long enough, calm can feel unfamiliar, peace can feel suspicious, rest can feel irresponsible. I know all too well what that's like. There were years when I was raising children, managing a home, carrying financial and emotional pressure, and trying to anticipate the next problem before it arrived. During those years, I could sit, but I wasn't resting. My body was sitting, but my mind was still scanning. Who needs support? Who needs something? What did I forget? Who's upset? What problem do I need to solve next? My shoulders were still tense. My breathing was still shallow. I was still listening for the next need, the next mood, or the next problem. I looked still, but inside I was carrying everything. And it took me a long time to understand that stopping isn't resting. You can stop moving and still feel responsible for the entire world. When I say I refuse to go back to the old way of living, I don't only mean I refuse to think the same thoughts. I don't want my body spending the rest of my life acting as if every ordinary day is an emergency. And that is identity work. Identity isn't only the answer you give when someone asks, who are you? It's the role you automatically step into. It's what you believe is yours to carry. It's what you expect from other people. And it's the way you prepare yourself before anything has even happened. One of the hardest things about rebuilding your identity after 40 is that a repeated pattern no longer looks like a pattern. It feels like personality. You say, I'm just the responsible one. But being responsible may have quietly become believing everything is your responsibility. You say, I work well under pressure, but your body may no longer know how to function without pressure. You say people can always count on me, but maybe you don't know how to let anyone support you. The question isn't whether those strengths are bad. The question is whether an old strength has become a permanent role you're no longer allowed to leave. Because after 40, the goal isn't to throw away the person who helped you survive and succeed. It is to decide which parts still belong in the life you're building now. Your body learned through repetition, and it usually needs new repetition, not shame, to learn another response. Small amounts of slowing down, small opportunities to say no and discover that someone else's disappointment doesn't destroy you. Small amounts of speaking clearly and staying present. Small choices to rest before complete exhaustion. Your body needs evidence too. So here's one question to carry with you this week. When does my body act as if I'm still in the old part of my story? Don't force an answer. Just notice. In part 2, we're going to look at how an old identity can show up through your posture, your breath, and your voice, and how to practice a new way of showing up without pretending to be someone you're not. If this connected with you, start the 5-day identity rebuild. The link is in the description because you cannot build a new life from an old identity. And sometimes the old identity isn't only in your thoughts. Sometimes it's still showing up in the way you brace for life.